The Acolyte showrunner Leslye Headland cast doubt that there might be a second season of The Acolyte. And now we have more comments from the showrunner where she admits that a second season of the show has not been greenlit yet. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Also, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com this morning. And she did a huge interview with Entertainment Weekly following the 5th episode where she breaks down many of the events. I'll probably be covering a number of her comments from this massive interview. There is a lot to unpack, much of it absolutely terrible. But this is what she had to say when she was asked about a possible second season. I'll tell you my philosophy on first seasons. Something that I've noticed is first seasons will end on what should have been the break into Act 2. It feels like everyone's really expecting to get a second season, and I don't feel that's a good idea. She explained, I think you should put everything you can into the first season and give the audience a nice resolution that feels satisfying, but enough nods to mysteries that you would want to see a second season. So it's a little bit of both. You don't want to leave it so wrapped up that, like Obi-Wan or a standalone miniseries, that there's no reason to watch a second season. But I think there's enough stuff in the last few episodes that you would want to have answered. Next, Headland was asked if there was any progress made on a possible season 2. This is what she said. I remember reading that Vince Gilligan, in writing and doing the first season of Breaking Bad, really didn't plan on, we're getting 7 more seasons, and this is what's going to happen to Walter White. It was much more, here's everything we got. We're throwing everything at the wall. And then with the pickup, he mapped out, okay, here's what's going to happen over the course of however many seasons. So with that example, she then asserted this. So I took that approach with this. I threw everything into season 1 because who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen? She doesn't know what's going to happen with this show. She does not know. In fact, she confirms that a second season has not been greenlit yet. She says this, and then I'd say there are 4 to 5 major mysteries and plot points that have to get hit in season 2. But until we get a proper pickup, there you go, until we get a proper pickup. She does not have a proper pickup from Lucasfilm, from the Walt Disney Company for a second season. She is saying that right there. There is no second season greenlit for The Acolyte. She goes on and says, I worry that spending a lot of time in that world, especially being in a period where I've worked so long on this project, that honestly, I'm exhausted by it coming out, to kind of jump right into like, all right, season 2. So Leslye Headland says she is exhausted by the first season of The Acolyte and all the work that she's done on it. And she seems like she is not interested in jumping right into a second season, even if it does get a green light right away. That sounds like this show has no future, at least at this point. She then concludes saying this, though. It will probably be more that I know what needs to happen, and I know what the character development needs to be in order to hit the plot points and the character points for a second, third, or fourth season. So I look forward to working on that, but right now, I haven't. So she's trying to get a second, third, or fourth season at the end here after admitting she doesn't even have a pickup for a second season and that she has no interest in working on a second season at this point. I mean, at least she's kind of she's saying what she's doing is accurate. I got to leave it open for those mysteries. That's exactly what she's doing here in this interview. It's kind of funny. But this is not good for fans of The Acolyte if they're how few of you are out there. I'm almost a little bit disappointed. As much as I can't stand this show, and I was seriously questioning why I was watching it in the first place after the 5th episode because it was just so painstakingly awful. There's a lot of money to be made in pointing out how awful this is, how terrible it is, and why it's so bad. Probably making more money than the Walt Disney Company because they spent $180 million and it's unlikely they have made any kind of return on interest or a return on investment from that. Audience score on Rotten Tomatoes sits at 14%, 3.3 on IMDb, 2.9 unweighted mean. Viewership is in the toilet. First 2 episodes only did 210 million minutes watched, according to Luminate. That's 600. That's almost 620 million minutes less than Ahsoka, because Ahsoka did 829 million minutes watched, as reported by Nielsen. So that is apples to apples, because they're both in the United States. Obviously, 2 different services, but it seems pretty accurate. So that's awful. 829 to 210. Acolyte at 210. It did see a boon in the 3rd episode here. It jumped up to 380.5 million. However, that's still a lot less than Acolyte, which was 487 million. So I guess that's a good thing that it increased rather than decreased like Ahsoka. However, it's still less than Ahsoka, right? Even though it increased, it's still a lot less. Significantly more, like 100 million minutes less. And then if you look at the most recent data that we have from Luminate, the 4th episode only did 262 million minutes watched. So that huge bump to 380 quickly dropped off. People probably only tuning in to that 3rd episode to see just how awful the show actually was, and to confirm whether or not the rumors were true that they were going to make the Force female, which they kind of did with the thread. They just created a whole new entity basically in the thread. And then they introduced the lesbian space witches and all that stuff too, and people wanted to just kind of watch the train wreck. Clearly, a lot of the people that did tune in didn't stick around, as it went down to 262 million. We'll see what happens with the fifth episode. We don't have any data on that yet. My guess is it'll go down lower. I'll be surprised if it goes up any higher, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So clearly, this show is not making money, and it's likely it's lost a ton of money. I mean, there's a report in Forbes that says they spent almost $50 million just in pre-production. That's more than a bunch of their movies. That's how awful this stuff is. It is clearly has lost a ton of money, and no one's watching it, which means it's highly unlikely that people have actually subscribed to Disney Plus to watch this show. And I would be very shocked if they actually do a second season, given the fact we're hearing what Leslye Headland's already saying. She's saying she's not ready for a second season. They haven't greenlit it already. Usually, with Lucasfilm, we'll see crazy announcements like Rian Johnson gets a 3-film deal with Lucasfilm. That was before The Last Jedi. That's how confident they were in The Last Jedi. They gave Rian Johnson a 3-picture film. Where's that at? Haven't seen it. Taika Waititi, where's his film? Haven't seen it. After his Thor movies, they were all hype on him and his work on The Mandalorian. Nowhere. So I doubt we'll see this continue. That's unfortunate, because as us YouTubers, we were making a bunch of money off of the show. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.